We're heading into season 6, but I lost some of the footage of the off season, so here are the retirements. Bryant Young retired, he's an original on the team. Bobby Taylor is retiring, he spent the past 3 seasons with the team after a trade with the Browns. Besides his final year, he was pretty good. We traded for Aaron Shea last season. I thought he had a few more years in him. I was wrong. Normally, I don't re-sign many players. This year, I re-signed 5. Burns had a good season last year, good enough for me to take a chance on him this year, and even if we draft a quarterback in the first. Alvin Davidson has sure hands, and even though his numbers aren't high, I'd rather sign him now than spend a few years looking for a replacement. Matthew Dunn is a no-brainer signing. Most of the signings are basically to avoid making a hole on the team. Luke Ward will be returning. His career started out so promising, but he's a solid backup. Ashante Spencer is an original on the team. He's one of the best corners we have right now. We've struggled finding good corners. So some of the big names not returning: Kevin Barlow, Jeno James, that's about it. Now, the part everyone's waiting for. During season 5, we blew up the team and now have 4 second round picks and 2 thirds. But with our first pick, I selected a tackle. Nathan Lambert isn't expected to start this season, but we have 2 starters already. He's a future insurance policy. We've struggled finding corners, and in the second we took a chance on one. Merle Perkins is a tall, fast boy who covers like a blanket, and he still needs some time to learn the game. With our second round pick we got from the Cardinals trade, we selected a guard. Leon Snyder is an insurance policy for the future if an injury occurs. I feel comfortable with him starting a few games. So our third second round pick we got from the Bills trade, we selected a defensive tackle. With Bryant Young retiring, we had a hole to fill, and Dana Jennings may be big enough to fill it. With our final second round pick from the Texans trade, we selected an inside linebacker. Roger Walton is a jack of all trades but a master of none. Time will tell if he can improve enough to be a starter on this team. Now with our first third round pick, we went outside linebacker. Elias Houston excels as a pass rusher. He's an insurance policy as well to our current starters. With our second third round pick that we got from the Bengals trade, we selected a center. Now I know these draft picks don't seem to make too much sense, but we lacked depth for such a long time, and I think these picks help. Now we are getting to the second half of the draft. In the 4th round, I selected a strong safety. Sylvester Taylor is fast and a good tackler, but he's not very good in either run or pass coverage. Our first 5th round pick, we selected a fullback. Moss Klein is a good receiving back. Like I said, these picks are mainly depth. Our second 5th round pick from the Texans trade, we selected a wide receiver, Juan Marsh. Not a great selection, but he's a depth pick, and now you know why I don't go for playmakers. With our 6th round pick, we selected a running back, Noel Glover. Not very good, but we needed depth behind Peter Kim. And with our 7th round pick, we decided to go back-to-back running backs. Noel Knight, not much better, but again, these were just to have depth at the spot. We're beginning to see the fruits of our labor come into fruition. Rashawn Woods stays as the best playmaker we have on the offense. After 1 season as a starter, Stuart Phillips becomes our best playmaker on defense. Doyle McCoy was actually an elite player last year, but an injury had him knocked out at the beginning of the season. And our final elite player is Jeffrey Flores, who finally cracked into the list. Taylor Burns improved slightly after his first year starting. It's been a rough time for Hansen. His fall hasn't been graceful. We're all in on Peter Kim for 1 more season. I would have thought his ratings would have improved, but they haven't. I did consider signing a running back, Troy Medina, to be more exact, but like I said, he's a 1st round pick. He's gonna get another shot. You can see why I drafted another fullback. I thought we might need one with Santos' contract ending soon, and if there's one thing that's been consistent throughout the entire franchise, it's that Woods and Lloyd are going to be the starting wideout. Davidson gets a new contract and suddenly he regresses slightly. He's still better than anyone else we would have gotten. Matthew Dunn has proved himself to be a serviceable starter for the team. And with how good our interior line is, you would think Peter Kim would have success running. McCoy has become the head honcho on this team. Lampert was an insurance policy pick, and with both our starting tackles on a contract year, we'll have to make a choice on who to bring back. Dana Jennings is looking like a nice pick, to be honest. Murray and Ward had high hopes too, but they've been average, so hopefully Hopefully Jennings is not the same. We'll only be running with 2 defensive ends, Andre Carter and Ralph Oliver. Depth isn't great, you know where it is, outside linebacker. Miguel Lawson's contract is running out soon and Elias Houston is creeping up on him. Will we walk with him soon? Our weakest position so far would be inside linebacker. Injuries will force Carlton out, and the rookie Walton isn't really ready to start yet. I'm actually pretty happy with where we're at cornerback. Yeah, none of them are in the 80s, but we're getting there. I didn't expect Taylor to be such a good replacement for Parrish, but he's replaced the legend nicely so far. I trusted Bradley the Manly to take over at free safety. Probably not the best decision I've made, but he's not terrible. Lastly, Doyle the kicker, Sanders the punter. Now before I start the season, I did consider trading Lawson for Chris Brown. No, not that Brown. I ended up canceling the trade. We're not in a reboot anymore. We have to see what we have in our guys. Let's see, how much have we improved since last year? You know, we once started 5-0. I wouldn't be surprised if we still missed the playoffs. We got our first winning season, boys. We didn't finish strong, but we finished. Had we won 1 game, we'd have a bye week. Had we won both of the final games, we'd have the number 1 seed. And to be honest, I'm just happy we're in the playoffs. Taylor Burns put up another solid season with the team. I'm very happy with his performance so far. I think it was the right choice to re-sign him. I don't know how to feel about Peter Kim. His average is good, but he doesn't seem to get into the end zone much. Frederick Santos has carried some of the workload in the backfield. He's had to since nobody's good behind Kim, but he's done a really good job in his role. I'm really loving the resurgence of Brandon Lloyd. This is his best season so far in the series. Rashawn Woods regressed again, but you know, you're the clear number 1. I expect more teams to cover you, giving the number 2, Lloyd, more opportunities. I think we know what we have in Davidson. He's not a big playmaker, but he's reliable enough. A big surprise was Alan Todd. He's played really well for a guy who wasn't even supposed to make the team. He's a nice 6th-round pick. Jeffrey Floodis led the team in tackles and had his best season in his career so far. I had considered trading Lawson, and I'm glad I didn't. He's had a pretty good season. Ralph Oliver led the team in sacks. It's clear learning from Carter has helped him a lot. Stuart Phillips proving we made the right choice letting him take over for Parrish. Andre Carter might be starting to hit his decline. He's still better than a lot of players, but how much does he have left in the tank? Justin Warner led the corners in interceptions. He's still young and developing, so hopefully come next year the secondary becomes scary. Doyle had another 60% kicking season, which is still it's a season high in this franchise, while Sanders knows how to coffin corner these bad boys. For the first time in this series, the 49ers made the playoffs. It took 6 seasons and a reboot, but here we are in San Francisco Park, where they take on the Philadelphia Eagles in this monsoon. But that didn't stop the fans from showing up. While the fans did show up, the 49ers defense didn't, as McNabb threads this one to Pinkston. The defender can't make the shoestring tackle, and nobody is going to get him as the Eagles take the early lead on 1 play. This could be playoff inexperience from the 49ers showing. Later in the first, the Eagles still up 7-0. McNabb finds Harmon to get across midfield. 2 plays later, 3rd and 8, McNabb fires one over the middle, picked off by Miguel Lawson. You remember when the team considered trading him? I don't. Nope. Can the turnover spark something for the 49ers? Burns rolls to his right, throws a dime to Davidson to get past midfield. The next play, Burns drops back. Look at that protection in the pocket and finds Wood over the middle to get into the red zone. 2 plays later, Burns feels the pressure off the edge and takes off with it for the first down. We're at the start of the second quarter. Burns finds Lloyd on the drag, who can't get enough to get into the end zone. Next play, they hand it off to Peter Kim. The former first rounder ties the game at 7. The Eagles haven't done much since the first play. On second down, McNabb finds Harmon, defender misses the tackle, and Bradley is in pursuit behind him. Tackle him, jump! At least tell me how his aftershave smells like. And just like that, the Eagles are back on top. Now the 49ers find themselves down again. Burns drops back, moves to his right, throws to Woods on the slant for the first down. Burns has been playing pretty well. Pocket holds up and another short throw to Davidson for the first down. Closing in on the 2-minute warning, Burns drops back deep, throws to Woods, and he somehow comes down with it. 3rd down now. Burns has another clean pocket, throws to Lloyd, who holds on for the 1st down. 2nd and goal, they hand it to Peter Kim, who once again shows why he was a 1st round pick, scoring untouched. We fast forward to the 2nd half, game tied at 14 thanks to Kim. Burns threads another needle to Lloyd over the middle. Next play, Burns drops back and finds Woods for another completion. He's beginning to heat up. The following play, Burns pumps it, moves to his right, chucks it deep to Davidson, who comes down with it. It was reviewed and the play was upheld. Unfortunately, that's as far as the drive went, as it stalled, and Doyle came out to give them the first lead in the game. We're now in the 4th quarter, Eagles ball in just over 2 minutes. McNabb throws a rainbow to Harmon, who makes the catch, and Spencer actually makes the tackle. There's now only 2 minutes left in the game. McNabb, with plenty of time, throws to Harmon over the middle, and that's what I expected to see. Phillips was backpedaling towards the defender. Playoff experience is really hurting this defense. The 49ers have answered back each time the Eagles have scored. Can they do it again? No, they can't. But the 49ers defense has a chance to stop them on 3rd, which they do, but a penalty forces a tough decision. Instead of a field goal, they force them to try again, and they stop them again. Now, this is the last chance for the 49ers. Burns rolls to his right, throws deep to Woods, who makes the catch. With 45 seconds left in the game, Burns drops way back, has protection, throws to Lloyd, who somehow makes the catch. With no more timeouts left, there's only 10 seconds left in the game. Burns throws it deep and Woods makes the catch and he goes out of bounds. With only 6 seconds left in the game, this could be the final play, and the pass is dropped by Marsh. That could have won the game. Now with 2 seconds left, this will be the final play. Burns drops back, throws to the end zone, and knocked down. The Eagles will come away with the win. The rain didn't help the home team today, and more importantly, the big plays allowed on defense probably didn't make things any better. Inexperience may have played a part of why they lost, but at least they fought till the end. With the season over, it's time to focus on our players and the off-season, and we finally have a complete team, and I think it's best to keep all our starters. Frederick Santos is our starting fullback, and we're no longer rebuilding. We don't need to save this money anymore. We brought him back. We do have a dilemma at tackle. I can re-sign Harris and Rhodes, but with Lambert not being too far off talent-wise, and knowing this is how good Harris will be, I went ahead and signed Rhodes. Miguel Lawson was almost traded last season, but I chose not to do it, and I even decided to bring him back. Jacob Doyle, look, he's the best kicker we've had so far. I'm bringing him back. There are only 3 players not returning, and I'm fine with that. Moving on to the draft, we only have 2 defensive ends on the roster, so the 1st round pick, I selected one. Andre Carter isn't going to be around forever. He already taught one defensive end to be good, so why can't he do it again? I feel like it's time to have a backup plan for Davidson, so in the 2nd round, I selected a tight end. He's not much of a run blocker, but he'll make you pay over the middle. In the 3rd round, I went cornerback because we literally turned into toast during the wildcard game. Kurt Hunter is one of the best names I've heard in a while, but as of right now, he's not good enough to be a backup. We're now in the 4th round, don't expect a lot of bangers here. I selected Saul Richardson because Bradley the Manly disappointed me in the wildcard game, and after seeing his ratings, I'm now disappointed in both. Getting to the final 3 selections in the 5th, I selected a quarterback. What would you expect out of a 5th rounder, but I'm pretty sure Burns is a 6th rounder. In the 6th round, I selected a strong safety, not because I have PTSD of Phillips. Phillips. In the final round, I selected an outside linebacker. I think we all know by now I like drafting linebackers. Do I need them? It doesn't matter. This year's elite class is headlined by Rashawn Woods. Again, consistency is the name of the game, and when you have hands like his, it makes it even more deadly. Stuart Phillips is on the list, but I'm still disappointed in you. I guess he makes up for his pass coverage by being a thumper against the run. Doyle McCoy is also another returning elite player. This would be his 3rd time here. It's nice to see my drafted players being stars on the team. Going into the 3rd season, Miguel Lawson cracked the elite list. I can't believe I considered trading him away. He's now our second best defensive player on the team. Frederick Santos being on the list is not a shocker. He was just a matter of time. Now he's on the same level as Beasley was. The final elite player is Jeffrey Flores. It took him 2 more seasons than Lawson, but this defense is looking good. Looking sweet. Taylor Burns, having back-to-back good seasons, has been wild. First round picks always get opportunities, but we should have gone with Burns during the 5-0 season. We'd be 10-0 in the first 5 weeks. One of the reasons why I don't like Peter Kim is how expensive he is for the production he gives. He's a first rounder, so should we give him another season to prove his worth? Santos is making as much as Kim. At least Santos is worth it, I think. Well, he's rated higher. You know what's shocking? Alan Todd, another former 6th-round pick, is proving his worth on this team. Kim can learn a thing or two from him, while we're beginning to see the regression of Lloyd. Well, apparently drafting a tight end made Davidson much better. I don't know how, but it did. I should have drafted a running back to make Kim better. I think Dunn has reached his peak, and that's fine. He's been a good center. You don't need a lot of superstars. You just need a few surrounded by good players. That's what Dunn is. Another tough decision is going to have to be made soon at guard, with Heitman and Snyder both in need of a new contract. There's no way we get a Snyder cut. We just got him last season. I think we made a good decision on Rhodes over Harris. I don't see Harris progressing anymore, and it gives me reason to believe my first-round picks have all been successful, except for Kim. Dana Jennings has turned some heads while entering his 2nd year in the NFL. After all those 2nd-round picks we had last year, this one has been the most improved. Oliver has finally surpassed Carter, but I think it's more appropriate to say that Carter has finally began to slow down and regress behind Oliver. Drafting Fletcher doesn't seem like a bad idea anymore, now does it? He's already as highly rated as Kim. We are stacked at outside linebacker. Last year I considered trading Lawson, but now with both Flores and Houston on contract years, will I consider trading one of them? An injury to Bowens caused his ratings to dip back down, and with Walton not improving, we're now in a situation of having 2 players that are battling to see who's good enough. With an injury to Spencer, nothing too serious, he'll be back. That means our best corner is out, but Warner improved enough to be a starter opposite of Spencer, but Perkins regressed slightly. I am surprised Hunter improved as much as he did. Stuart Phillips may not be Parrish, but he's done a good job either way, except in the wild card. But we'll forget that. We do have 2 players behind him itching to go, and his contract's ending after this year. We might go broke. Bradley is the only option we have at free safety. I would like to find a replacement, but we traded him away a few years ago to the Bills. I can sleep better at night knowing we got Dana Jennings out of that trade. Lastly, Doyle the kicker, Sanders the punter. So, who wants to walk with Elias? The Bengals do. I decided to stick with Flores and trade the unproven linebacker to Cincinnati. I offered a 3rd and Houston for a 2nd and Carl Kim, the older brother of Peter Kim. He'll be joining him in the backfield with a proven track record. Running backs don't last long in the NFL, and Peter Kim just found out why. Cincinnati was in desperate need of finding a good linebacker to pair with their own elite guy. They already had someone ahead of Kim and were willing to trade him. While we were in desperate need of running back, Peter Kim wasn't the guy we thought he would be, but his brother has proven otherwise. Joe Hansen was our first ever draft pick, and he's entering into his final year under contract. I traded him to Dallas, who finds themselves on a rebuilding year. They can take a chance on him this season using him as a tank commander. I traded him and our 1st-round pick for Joel Beck. Last year was his first season starting and only 9 interceptions, no big deal. I'm taking a chance on him, but I'm willing to risk it considering the players we have behind him. With the trade, we did have to let someone go. Bye-bye, Reyes. Can this season go any better record-wise than it did last season, or will the team regress back to the mean? The mean is 5-11, by the way. The team went 11-5 this season. They didn't collapse either. They actually finished strong with a 5-1 record to finish out the year. And for the 2nd straight year, they're back in the playoffs. and with a bye week. Taylor Burns had his most impressive season yet, throwing 41 touchdowns and almost 4,000 yards on the year. Imagine if he didn't sit on the bench his first 2 seasons. It wasn't enough to get MVP, but he got Offensive Player of the Year. Carl Kim had more touchdowns in this one season with the team than Peter Kim did during the past 2 seasons. It was also the first time in the series that we had a 1,000-yard rusher. I think it's time we give up on Peter Kim. He's never going to live up to the expectation. Frederick Santos wasn't needed as much this season, but he's still a threat whenever he touches the ball. Rashawn Woods may not be putting up big numbers, but he does know how to get into the end zone. He hasn't been able to eclipse 1,000 yards yet, but did a career high of 9 touchdowns again. Juan Marsh is a name that everyone should know because of the wild card game. He dropped the game-winning touchdown pass, but this season, he's made a new name for himself with his big play ability. The Brandon Lloyd resurgence has slowed down, but he's still finding ways to get into the end zone. He's clearly our most consistent player, but how much does he have left before he's not able to produce anymore? Whether he's an 82 or 92, he's consistently putting up the same number. He's still a threat whenever he's on the field as a catcher, but he's very solid in pass protection too. For some reason, Alan Todd was shoved to the bottom of the depth chart for no reason other than the CPU did it without me knowing. The dude is tall, fast, and can jump over the moon. How is he not on the field more? Miguel Lawson's numbers may have gone down, but that's not to say that he still isn't good. I think we made the right choice in keeping him around. Ralph Oliver has been one of the most surprising first-round picks we've had. He's been consistent in getting to the quarterback, getting 8 sacks this season, and that's because his specialty is stopping the run. Dana Jennings sat his first season, and it's paid off for him. Similar to Oliver, his specialty is stuffing the run, but he can also get to the quarterback. One of the few second-round picks from our reboot year putting in work. Andre Carter used to be a force on this team. He's not as good as he used to be, but he's still pretty good. He's getting across the 10-year experience mark, and the question now becomes, how much longer can he do it? I took a chance on an up-and-coming linebacker, Joel Beck, gave a first round for the player, and all he did was, get 10 interceptions. No big deal, right? I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have gotten someone as good as this guy in the draft. Shante Spencer is our best corner. We're struggling to find playmakers in the secondary, but that doesn't mean he wasn't good. Numbers only show half of the story. Unfortunately for kickers, it shows the whole story, and Doyle regressed. But look at all those extra points. We scored almost 20 more touchdowns than usual. We're also seeing less punts this year, which is good. Sanders has been a pretty good signing, to be honest. After starting 3 seasons with us and sitting the bench the past 2, a trade to the Cowboys may have restarted Hanson's career. I mean, he was better than his past 4 years with us. Finally, before we go to the playoffs, Elias had a pretty good year with the Bengals. I think both teams won their trade. Bengals defense got much better. 49ers offense became much more explosive. Win-win. Win-win.